3, 2, 1. All right, welcome to the second filmed episode of The Other Side. It's actually pretty funny because Michele is now the second Italian guest of the day, but we are now located in Penn Pizza Restaurant here in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, and I am here with Michele Ambrosino. And before I begin with this, I just want to talk about your name because obviously that is a known misconception throughout Berwick High School. But
in all of the United States, pretty much. All of the United States.
Do you want to talk about your name a little bit? Or just talk about the pronunciation and how we as Americans, or most Americans, seem to get it wrong?
Yeah, so, I mean, in every language, there's different versions of different names. And in Italy, the way to say Michael is Michele. So my name is pronounced, even all my friends never really say it right, but it's Michele Ambrosino. It's spelled M-I-C-H-E-L-E like Michael. Which, makes for some awkward situations. But besides that, it's all it is really Michael, just spelled different.
Well, and you, when you're at like restaurants and things like that, if they ask for your name, you just give them an easy Mike.
I have people call me
That cracks me up.
I have people call me Mike. I have people call me Mickey. Some people call me Miguel. Anything like that, I respond to.
Do you have a favorite second name?
I like Mickey. I like Mickey a lot. That's what everybody in rugby calls me.
Name. Yeah. Well, I want to thank you too for allowing me to be in here after closing and waiting around for me. It is currently almost 9:30, so I appreciate it. But the main thing that I want to talk about here, with this at least, is your family history, because as you've told me before, your family is immigrated from Italy here, and I believe your parents, they met in Italy, correct?
No, they met here.
Oh, they did meet here. And just if you want to go into, or if you could, about the background of like the restaurants that were in or the restaurant that they had in Jersey, I believe, correct? And then, your transition to King's here in Berwick, and then Penn Pizza now, if you want to just...
Yeah, sure. So my parents came here to the United States from Italy in about, the late 80s. I forget exactly, which year. Probably should remember. But anyways, they came in the late 80s, obviously looking for a better life, better opportunity. There's always, in the United States, the economy... even though people like to complain at times, it's better than it can be in other countries. And I know even right now in Italy, it's very difficult to find a job. And I know some people, I have some family where they've worked, they got paid monthly, and they were lucky if they even got paid at the end of that month. And the opportunities there are aren't very good. Let's say they're not very good. It's, beautiful country, but it's not always the best place to stay and have a life. There's more opportunities, more chances, better health care, better everything here. So my parents moved independently. My dad moved from Naples, a little outside of Naples, Monte de Procida, and he moved from Monte de Procida to Jamaica in New York and Brooklyn, and from there he moved down to Jersey. And my mom had moved from Italy to Jersey, I believe both in the 80s. And they both were working with their family at the time. They both were working at pizzerias, /Italian restaurant, but they also did the Italian dishes. So they were both working at different spots. My dad eventually moved to South Jersey, where my mom was already at with her brother in South Jersey. And it turned out that the bookkeeper, the accountant for my mom's restaurant was also the same bookkeeper for my dad's restaurant. So they, knowing that both of them were single, she introduced them to each other, and that's how my two families met. And from there, that was in the late 90s, they got married, and I was born in South Jersey along with my sisters. I have two sisters, by the way, Isabella and Sophia. And they were all there in South Jersey, and eventually they both decided to work at the same restaurant. And they've always been doing restaurant jobs because that's what they know how to do. That's what they know how to do best, and they know how to make money doing that. I remember my dad saying that in the 90s, owning a pizzeria was pretty profitable. It was definitely not what it is now with the masks and with Corona. It definitely was a better situation. But they had pizzerias back then, and my dad, they didn't have as much chances and opportunities back then, but I guess my parents are some of the hardest working people, and you don't really find that now anymore. You know, it's hard to find people. I mean, hell, I wouldn't even work as hard as they do. You know, because but they were able to do so much, and you know, they had the restaurants down there. You know, there were rough times like during 2008 with the 2007 2008 with
crisis.
with the recession. So there were some tough parts of that, and there were tough times, you know, before that, after that, and then now with the virus, you know. But they've learned so much, even not having, you know, the high school education or the college education that we you know have here. They were able to. I gotta say, they were very smart, and they were able to figure out how to make all this work. And it's not easy, you know, operating a restaurant for anybody, but especially with someone with as little given chances. You know, they came with, you know, no money in their pockets, so they were able to make things work. And then eventually my dad had an offer. It was around 2008 when, you know, things were going pretty bad. My dad had a very big restaurant. It was restaurant and bar. There were multiple dining rooms. And we had that in South Jersey around that time. And my dad had a friend up here that was offering us King's Pizza, and he gave us the opportunity to come up here and to buy the restaurant from him. And King's Pizza is a different restaurant from what we had before. You know, a little bit smaller, easier to manage, especially after certain health problems my dad had. It was just easier for him to manage a smaller restaurant. And we were starting over there in summer of 2008, and then from there we were able to help make it grow. From what I understand, the restaurant wasn't doing too good beforehand. It was kind of being neglected a bit, and we were able to help keep it going. And for 10 years, well, a little less than 10 years, it was like 9 years and 10 months, I think, we were at the restaurant there and doing pretty good. But then eventually, you know, my dad wanted a bit of a break, and then we moved over. Then we moved over here to Bloomsburg, and we figured there would be good opportunity attracting people from Berwick, and then also having the crowd here in Bloomsburg, because we realized that a lot of people from Berwick come to Bloomsburg to eat. Mm-hmm. So you know, we were able to change things up a bit, and this restaurant's a little bit smaller too, to make it even easier on my dad and on us as a family. And that's one thing we're noticing too. It's harder to find people to come and work with you. Mm-hmm. And you know, I know people always say it's not like things aren't like they used to be, but that's one thing where things really are not as they used to be. It's harder to find people that are willing to stick around for a while, and especially during the pandemic, we have nobody. It's me, my sisters, and my mom and dad that are working, and then maybe we have one or two other people that stick around for a bit, but it's hard to find workers. But that's basically like a quick run through of how my family got here with the restaurant.
Yeah, I know that's there's a lot to go off of from that, and I mean, I know you've told me about it before, and so I apologize I've forgotten some of it. But good. You know, talking about the Kings in Berwick, like I had 2 birthday parties there, and I know one was definitely under you guys owned, because I think it was my 8th grade birthday there, so like it was definitely there. Yeah. But I had one earlier, like in elementary school. I don't know, that might have been before 2008 when that.
Yeah, if it was elementary school, I would probably wasn't.
Yeah, but you know, it's such a small world, and it's crazy, you know, how we ended up meeting and everything else. But I'm kind of forgetting what I wanted to talk about with the Kings in Berwick. But at least, you know, here and being your friend for the last, which is going on like 5 years now, since about junior year, and I was just talking to your sister about that as well. But like, every time that I've gone to the Berwick Kings or here, you know, you guys are always working, some of the hardest working people that I have seen or that I know, and you guys are always so nice and genuine and offer, you know, me and my friends that come here as well, and I mean, I know we're all friends, but like, you know, we always get treated so nicely when we're here, and we really appreciate that. And on top of it all, the food's freaking good. Thank you. Yeah, and I know we make our jokes and everything else, but seriously, like, Penn Pizza is the bomb. Best spot in Bloomsburg for pizza, so people should definitely come by and check this out. You know, you and your sisters do work here on top of school as well, which is insane. And you are at King's College for your what major?
Marketing.
Okay, I just want to make sure I got that right. So, and you're a senior now, which is probably the busiest year of college, would you say? Yeah. Or
I guess it depends for everybody. It depends on what your major is. But for me right now, I'm pretty busy with, you know, different things I got to do over there.
but you're constantly, supporting your family and stuff and coming to and from school in Wilkes-Barre all the way to Bloomsburg, and you live in Berwick right in between.
Yeah,
most days, or 6, 7 days a week.
Yeah, well, 5 days a week with
school.
the school, and then I'll be here the other 2 days working all day pretty much.
That's awesome though, and that's a major commitment that, how you were saying, it's not like the way that it used to. You don't see too many families all working together like that. So I think that's definitely something that should be noted about, at least, your parents and the way that you guys were raised to all be hard workers, and that's a really great thing. But and thank you for sharing all that as well. But to go off of that, what I would like to transition into next is obviously how I brought up before that we met in high school, and it was my junior year and your senior year. And the way that we started talking was, do you remember? This sounds like we're in a relationship, but
I know, through the iMessage games,
pitching, 8-ball pool and like Pong and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And we were never. It was Phillips's class, I remember, who was dankest teacher, the dopest teacher in Berwick High School, I thought, in my opinion, at least anyway.
I agree with you.
Gotham was up there too. But
there were some great teachers there for sure.
Yeah,
but Phillips was easily one of the best teachers I've ever had.
But the thing that's so funny is that we would be playing these games in his classroom, like while the class is going on, and that's how we got to know each other. Then we started going to the movies all the time together, and for the last four years probably, we've been like movie buddies between Noah Craig with us too, and also Braden Regal. But like we always go to the movies and see all the big things that are out. And so I wanted to ask you too, and this is something I'll talk to with Donnie and all the film people as well. But like what are your thoughts, and what's the feeling like, especially because we both share the love of like Marvel and big blockbuster movies? Like, what's the feeling of not being able to go to the movies as much now and it not being like as normal anymore?
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, obviously, the pandemic's taken a lot of stuff away from us for sure. Yeah. It really is a once in a lifetime thing. So everybody's kind of has to deal with it, but it really sucks because especially with working at the restaurant a lot. Back when we could go to see movies, it was one of those few times where you could just go out, have fun. I really like all kinds of movies, maybe not as much as you, but I do like all kinds of movies, so it was awesome. Yeah. You definitely showed me a lot of movies that I might have not ever seen before, which is pretty awesome. There's so many different ones I can probably think of, small ones too, that I probably would have never seen. But going to see all of them, it was always a fun time. It was always, and it's awesome because you turn your mind off for 2 hours just to watch a movie, you have fun, and then afterwards, especially with the movies that make you think, we always talk about it. There might be a YouTube video on it or something like that. But it's cool to check things out, like to check and see all the different movies that are out there. Yeah. Especially like there's not always a lot to do, even in especially in Berwick and Bloomsburg. So that's one of those things that friends can always go out and do and have fun with, is going to see different movies. So it really does suck because I feel like there's just less opportunities to do things with friends, which I know that's for everybody for sure, and we'll get through it. But that's one thing I can't wait to get back to. At some point we're gonna have to watch. We're gonna have to go into theaters and start watching some of these new movies.
Yeah, I know. I can't do it anymore with like this. Well, I appreciate the streaming services, but like it's not the same. It's not the same. It's not the same.
It's an experience. It's worth the money you pay. For sure.
I always talk about this with other people whenever we bring up Endgame. But was Endgame probably the best movie experience that you've had? Because I think, at least for me, like when we got together with all of our closest friends and we took like 3 cars to Dixon City to make it there on time and everything else, like to me that was just something that stood out so much, and I'll never forget that. I always bring that up because I think that was a very special time, a very special moment. And I'm kind of going like loosely here through things, but that was one thing that I wanted to hit on too, because we were always, we still are always together and stuff, and as much as I thought things would change once we went to college, like that was my biggest fear, is that we were all going to separate and things like that. But it's funny because even at Penn State and where everybody else is at, we're still seem to make time all the time, and it never feels like we've been apart for the last 4 or 5 years now, ever since, 4 years for you, 3 years for me, or going on 3 years for me at least. So I think that that's really cool. But to bring up your major as well, your marketing, and you're going into business and you're involved with a family business. Like, what do you hope to do with your major, and where do you see yourself in the next few years, or where do you hope to see yourself in the next few years?
Yeah, so I know for sure when I started college, I knew I wanted to do business. I originally had done finance as my major, and I definitely could not do that.
Yeah.
But you figure that stuff out while you're in college. And then I took some marketing classes, really liked it. It was one of those things that came easy to me, so I could always do a marketing class, and I wouldn't even have to study. I mean, to be fair, I don't really study much anyways, but I wouldn't really have to study. All this stuff made sense to me, and I would have friends that were accountants, and for them, they were confused by everything they saw there. But I was like, this is the easiest thing. But for me, it was something that just came naturally to me, which is honestly how you know if something's right for you. Is if it comes naturally to you, and you enjoy doing it, you probably should work there. And especially if it can make you money. I mean, ultimately you have to be able to support yourself and support your family. So if you can hit all those marks, that's the job for you most likely. Yeah. And so marketing, I then eventually took a sales class, which I really liked. I remember it came really naturally to me. It made sense. I really liked it. And we did a few little mini competitions in the class, and I had won both of the competitions. I remember like us doing in the class, and there were little mini ones. There weren't anything important, but it was something so easy and something that I really liked to do, that I figured I hopefully want to get a career in sales. I definitely could branch out and do something different. I'm gonna try to do sales, but I hate kind of saying I'm gonna do something, because I'm not so sure if I am.
I'm right there with you.
But I'm thinking I'll try to look for something in sales. But if I land somewhere else in marketing, I'd be fine with that. Hopefully not so many numbers, but maybe not the analytical side, a little bit more of the people-oriented side, but. Yeah. But something like that, something in sales, something in advertising, I'd love to do too. Like, even if it was just working on commercials, that would be awesome. Yeah. I mean, I know, like, even as a kid, I always loved, and this is one of the reasons why I realized marketing was right for me, is I always loved brands. I would notice, like, oh, look, the cereal boxes, they always had different cartoon characters, and they would give you them different stories on commercials, but, like, depending on the character, you'd be more or less interested in a brand. And just seeing that, and seeing each product, like different limited edition versions of drinks or foods. If I see something that says limited edition on it, I'm probably gonna buy it. Like, if there's a new flavor, a new limited edition or anything like that, I will almost 100% buy it. That's one thing that I know always gets me. And really, all that is smart marketing. Yeah. And just stuff like that, branding, I really always loved, even as a kid.
Well, then, so I don't want me to interrupt, but this would be a perfect transition into the Pepsi versus Coke debate, and how Penn Pizza is now under, what would be a correct word, like reconfiguration of
in a transitional period right now.
Period of soda wars. So, what is it, Pepsi, or no?
The Cola Wars, yeah. Cola. It's Pepsi versus Coke. That's tough because I have.
Are you a Pepsi or a Coke guy?
I don't know if I'm legally obligated, under contract to say, considering now I don't know if you can see any of them, but now we're switching. We're starting to transition. Okay. So some of our stuff says Coke, some of it says Pepsi. Okay. As we transition and get new things, I know somebody has to switch our menu up there for us, but I will say, as a straight up cola, I'll make some hot takes here. As a straight up cola, I like Coke. I think Pepsi's a little bit too sweet and or too sugary, and so I like Coke, and I like a lot of the Coke products that shoot off of that. Yeah. But then Pepsi also is such good competition. Like Pepsi, you can't beat Mountain Dew. Like Mountain Dew over Mellow Yellow. Mountain Dew, I think beats them there. I think Mugs root beer over the Bargs root beer. It's like you got to do each little brand one by one. I mean, there's so many good things that Pepsi has under their umbrella of products. It's hard for me to pick.
Hitting questions that
it is. It's hard. It's like it depends on the day. I mean, I think Coca-Cola might take the edge, but I but Pepsi's awesome too.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, considering I'm surrounded by Pepsi products right now, I guess let's say they're even.
Okay, well then, if we're on hot takes, then pineapple on pizza.
Oh God, no! Don't do it.
But you guys serve it.
We do it because there's some sick people that want it. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's you know, there's people have all different kinds of tastes, but that's just not one of mine.
Do you have a favorite pizza?
Yeah, that's hard. I mean, you know, it's like saying I have a favorite child. Ultimately, I do, but I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it.
Yes.
No, but I mean, you know, if I have to pick a few, you know, I'll say a classic margarita pizza, like they make over in Italy, is awesome, amazing. I really like the way my dad makes a margarita pizza. Obviously, I'm biased, but I like the way he makes a margarita pizza. I like just a classic pepperoni pizza or a sausage pizza, or mix the two together. I love that. It's just classic, original. I love those. And then we have a grandma pie, which is pretty awesome too. And those are probably some of my top pizzas, but don't get me wrong, I could eat most of any other pizza anyways, you know, depending on what the day is, you know.
Yeah. Well, to get into, I guess, a controversial topic, being how this is a podcast where I want to try to, and then we'll go on different things here with this, but you know, my goal here with this is to talk to people that differ in views from me, or like not necessarily they could differ, but like to have civil discourse, civil conversations about the things that are going on in the world today, and you know, things that matter to people, things like that. And one of the reasons why I asked you was not only because obviously, you know, your family immigrated here, has their own business and things, and that's all great. But you know, the one thing why you stuck out in my mind to ask to interview was because you're the person that always keeps me like tamed and humble. I feel as though, because I brought this up with Ezio before, and we were talking about like the far left and the far right, and how, you know, there are extremes on both sides, and both sides are dumb in many ways. Yeah. And you're someone that has opened my eyes to a lot of different things when it comes to politics, especially when we have political conversations and things like that. And you know, like, I have to ask, like, or you know, what your opinion is, like, as someone, you know, that, you know, obviously you were born in States here in Jersey and everything else, but like, you know, you have that immigrant background, you know, like, how do you see things from that perspective? Like, do you think the U.S. is, like, I don't know if stupidly is a word, but like, do you think it's run dumb? Do you think that the U.S. needs to change the way that the voting and things like that are run? Do you think something like ranked choice voting would be a good option?
I definitely, ever since I heard about it, ranked choice voting, I think is a pretty good option. I know it's not easy to switch the way things, you know, the way things are done. It take a lot of work and probably a lot of money that probably can't really afford right now. But I think there definitely could be better ways to do it, because ultimately, I know I've told you before, like, a lot of times people back one person just because that's their party's guy. And it's more of a us versus them mentality, where it's like, oh, I hate Biden, and maybe I don't necessarily 100% agree with Trump, but I'm going to support Trump. Or it's I hate Trump, but I don't really like Biden, but I'm going to support Biden. And a lot of people, you can see that a lot now.
That's what I was talking about with Ezio, like, picking the lesser of two evils that a lot of people seem to talk about.
I just don't. Honestly, I don't think you should, like, vote for a person unless you genuinely are giving your, like, 100% endorsement of them. Yeah. And I know it's it gets complicated for sure, but I think, you know, a lot of times people are supporting, you know, somebody they don't really agree with, and I know, you know, obviously a lot of that you're seeing right now, like, a lot of people aren't necessarily happy with what's going on with Biden, but they didn't like Trump, so they were just going to Biden. And I mean, don't get me wrong, if that's your choice and you were like, okay, I'd rather Biden over Trump, sure. But, you know, that's sad if that's your only option. I feel like you should have more of a choice, and which there isn't right now in the US. And I know in other countries, there are a few more political parties that kind of add some more diversity to your voting like selection. And I know there are ways that that has worked and ways that has not worked, but I feel like there needs to be more options in the United States beyond Libertarian and Tea Party or whatever, which are just small minorities. But there's definitely ways this could be improved, because I feel like ultimately you look at the way things are, it doesn't even matter who the man in charge is. That really doesn't mean anything. It's more about what party is in charge. And because even if the man that's in charge says one thing, if the party's going to push him anyways, they need the party to back them. Otherwise, they have no platform. They have no way to do anything. So I think, ultimately, if you want to vote, when it comes to president, at least you want to vote for the person that has your best interests, that you think will do the best, and that, sometimes parties restrict them from doing that. So obviously I don't have like all the solutions. But I think that's if there was if there was a way to transition and to kind of let people understand that you don't have to choose people you don't like. If there was a way to give an option, that would be awesome. But like I said, I don't know how. It would be definitely hard to change that, and there'd be a lot of resistance to that. But it'd be an interesting thought, though.
Yeah, I brought this up with Ezio. I mean, obviously you're one of my best friends, and like we've known each other for so long now. But like, with having these, what we were talking about earlier was, what's the best way, in your opinion, of like getting things done? Necessarily, like, was he brought up like, and we were talking about the riots and everything else in the past year, but like, how important it is to have these kinds of conversations, and especially to reach out to people that maybe don't agree with you or things like that. And that's the whole point of this podcast, is to try to hear the other side and get their take on things. I mean, I know we've been joking around the whole time and whatnot, but like, obviously the answer is probably going to be no, but do you find it easy to talk to people about like these things, or like these hot topics, or anything political, social, especially on, I mean, I don't know what way would you say like King's slides, like on the political spectrum, like more Republican or more conservative, more liberal, like what is this atmosphere like there?
So King's College, we are a smaller college from a more conservative area, so there are a lot of conservative students there, and even professors. So I'd say we have probably as good of a mix as a college could get. But overall, I mean, there's still, overall colleges are more liberal leaning, which is a shame. Like I said, honestly, colleges shouldn't have any of that at all. Like that shouldn't be an issue. It should be more of like an even. I wouldn't even say even split. Like it should just be. There should
unbiased.
Be it should just be unbiased, but obviously it's impossible to get no bias at all, but
I believe in that too.
But like it'd be nicer if it could be fairer for everybody, and I know that's not 100% fair, but it's hard to get people to change. Like you were saying, people really don't want to hear what's not like, if it's not what they think, they don't want to hear it. People really don't. They're not willing to hear it.
We were talking about that earlier as well. I think that's a very good point, because like, and I brought up the point that like, I watch Fox a lot, and obviously that makes me more so biased, and I like a lot of the figures that are on there, but how important it is to read, and I think you're one of these people that reaches out, but like looks up and does their own research and things like that, and compares sources and things, and especially when I've come to you, or like I tell you or start complaining about this, and the thing is I don't know everything. I'll admit that.
Nobody does.
Nobody does. I hear one thing and I kind of run with it, and sometimes it makes me look stupid for sure, and not right, and I've come under fire, whether it be on Instagram or other things, and I've been trying since the election now, like not because Trump lost, like I lost or anything like that, and I fully support him, I still do, and I brought that up earlier as well, but like it's just what I was going to say about Penn State was that, like, and especially with politics, obviously it's more so liberal leaning. And that's not to define everybody, because everybody has their own thing there, and it's a very diverse group of people. But I'll say this, I went there thinking that, oh God, it's gonna be like liberal overload, and in some ways it definitely is, but in others I feel like it's a broader perspective, and people try to be respectful of both sides. There are some people obviously that don't care either way, like you're either far right, far left, that kind of thing. But I've come to notice, at least it seems like people try to be respectful. And I'm now, like, this class that I'm shooting this for, like, I'm in a class full of people that I'm almost positive lean more so left. And even if they're not, like, they don't support either, they're more like Democrat leaning. And that's nothing on them. I've worked with them, I've talked to them, they're all very, very nice people, but they've at least respected me enough now, and I've come out like publicly like saying that I'm Trump supporter. That's almost like, it's like a kind of a death sentence, honestly, like on a college campus when you say that to certain people. But I feel as though they've taken it very well, and they've been very supportive of this project that I'm working on, and I really, really appreciate that. So it's just great that, to sit down with someone like you that's willing to talk to me about this and put their face on camera. Like, I really appreciate that. But to go off of that as well, and kind of still stay in the realm of politics, what I forgot to bring up when we were talking about the restaurant and your family and everything else, and I brought this up with Ezio and his father as well, because he talked about how his father immigrated from Venezuela, and at first he was illegally immigrated, but became a citizen over the years. But ever since he got here, he's worked a job, paid taxes. There hasn't been a time where he hasn't done those things, but how he's been treated poorly or just mistreated, misjudged, that kind of thing. And so I was going to ask you, like, do you experience that with your parents? Have your parents experienced that? Even being business owners here in like a small, I mean, it's not a small town in Bloomsburg, but like a lot of people know Bloomsburg. But like to me, it's kind of a smaller town. It might be that way to you as well. Or have you or your sisters even like experienced that here, like animosity towards immigrants, or like immigrants owning a business or anything like that?
Yeah, it's something that definitely does happen, and some people don't realize that, but it does happen. Yeah. With my parents, not so much, because the way it is right now, if it was 100 years ago, then there would be more, like you said, animosity towards Italians. Yeah. Nowadays, there isn't as much, but what they will get, a lot of the tough, a lot of the, I guess you could say, like, a lot of the friction, like a lot of the just discrimination, really. A lot of that will happen will be more towards my parents, based off of like their accent, just straight up.
That's what Ezio said.
And a lot of people, besides, the way it is right now is, I mean, my parents, our skin color is white. We have it a little easier than other people, or especially me. Definitely easier than other people. But with my parents, with their accent, people definitely look at it different. And we've had customers who come in and complain, and some of them just straight up make fun of my parents' accents, thinking that they can, thinking that, they're making fun of everybody anyways, but they definitely target that and try to think that, because my parents don't speak English 100% correctly, that they're stupid. Mm-hmm. A lot of people think that, and a lot of people we've had working for us, a lot of people we have, but in all honesty, my parents are pretty smart. Like they figured out, it's hard knowing two languages. It's not perfect.
For how many years now?
My dad's been working in a restaurant for about 40 years now. So yeah, he knows what he's doing. Yeah. But a lot of times, especially when when they get, let's say it's a customer that gets angry at you and they want to attack you with something, that's one of the first things they go towards. Yeah. You'll see that, we don't see it as much as other groups of people do, but just with them being immigrants, it does happen. It's it's unfortunate, and it doesn't happen all the time. There are some awesome people, but it's the way it is. There are people that do that. It sucks, but in reality, they're if they're doing that, if they're going that low, they're just stupid. Yeah. My parents don't. It hurts, but they don't. They know there are stupid people out there, and they kind of they've dealt with it, but it's something that's it makes their life harder, but they've found ways to go around it.
Yeah. So like, and this is gonna be a really dumb follow-up question, but like, especially with everything cancel culture related now, or just us finding ways of canceling people that make fun of this group of people or things like that. Like, I feel like, and there's a lot obviously with Black Lives Matter, and I see a lot of stuff with the Asian Americans now, especially with like hate crimes and things like that. And like, then I look at, and this is just obviously white American male perspective, and this might be like dumb, but like, you know, you don't really see Italians as like, we don't experience like, it doesn't seem like Italians experience what, and that's not to like count you guys out or anything like that, but it doesn't seem like they're like a group that's really targeted or anything like that. And I have to ask, like, you know, when we or like me or like any of our friends in our friend groups and stuff, when we do the Italian like hands and stuff like that, do your family or like you or your sisters, like, if anybody jokes about that kind of stuff, do they take offense to that, or is it like more? And like, I guess what I want to ask too, like, does Italian culture make fun of itself as well, like with the stereotypes, like that kind of thing? Yes. Do you see that at all, or?
So I know that, you know, obviously we're you know, in 2021, it's different than it was for Italians in the past. I know in the past Italians did have it pretty hard. I know my mom would tell me that, you know, people from arriving off Ellis Island would be they'd smell like maybe some kind of cheese or some kind of food product, you know, and they'd get these strong smells. They'd get these different they'd see these different people, and they would judge them pretty harshly back then. They would give them cruel nicknames, and I forget everything my mom was telling me, but she was always telling me about this stuff. But then when you look at how the times have changed, now people love Italians a lot, and people love the food. You know, people were complaining, oh, the smell of that food. Well, now people pay a lot of money to get that food. It just, I feel like over time, you know, people, when they're not accustomed to a certain culture or a certain thing, they don't know how to react to it. But over time, I think everybody can grow to love, you know, and accept and understand all these different cultures. It's just, you know, the world has been closed off for such a long time, and within the past century, globalization's changed everything. People are discovering, hey, there's other people on the other side of the world, and as people mix, I think over time, it's possible that, you know, a lot of this stuff that we still see today, just, it's, you know, it's bad today. It was worse in the past, but I think it's going to be better in the future. Over time, we're going to all, you know, as we mix with other cultures, we're all going to learn to love it. You know, just the way Americans, you know, had friction against Italians in the past. If you weren't like white Irish back then, you know, it was one thing. But so even if you were like white Italian, that was a completely different thing. Over time, people will grow to love all these different cultures, you know, and food is one great way to do it. You know, you sit down and have a meal with somebody, you know, that's one way to share some, you know, you share your experiences, share your worldviews, and to relax and have fun with someone. And once you do that, you know, I think over time, people learn to love one another. You know, it takes time, and you gotta do some work to convince some other people. And I think it's a sick reality of what we're in now, but it'll, over time, I know for sure it's got to get better. I mean, maybe it's a bit too optimistic to think that, and it might take a long time, but you know, once people get used to the fact that we're in a globalized community now, that you're going to see people from all over the world, once society can understand that, you're going to see people being a lot more accepting, for sure.
That was a very great answer to a very stupid question.
My
question was very jumbled, and I knew what I wanted to ask, but I didn't know how to ask it, and you just hit it on everything. So thank you for that. To kind of get into a fun thing, can I question the Robert De Niro photo in the bathroom? And he kind of, the way that his eyes are pointed, he's kind of looking at you while you're taking a dookie, if you are.
Yeah,
does that bother you?
Well, I mean, it depends on how tall you are. I'm a little shorter, so I don't really see that. But you're taller, so I mean, you might see that.
I felt he was watching. I went to the bathroom there. I felt like he was watching it.
Yeah, you know, when we were setting up the decor.
There are worse people to be watching.
Yeah, of course.
Robert De Niro.
You know, when we were setting up the decor, we asked some of our family members in Jersey, and my one cousin, he had a storage locker for a bunch of paintings he didn't use anymore. We're like, you have, what do you have over there for our new place back when we were setting the place up? And that was one of the pictures. We were like, all right, let's just put that up there. Robert De Niro, he's in, he was in Godfather Part 2. I mean, he's got an Italian connection there. So
American icon. Well, Italian American.
Italian American icon. Yeah,
for sure. Well, I mean, not even to go off of that, but the next thing that I was going to ask as well is, and this, I should have brought this up when we were talking about your major in marketing and that, but to circle back to that, you are responsible for running like the Penn Pizza website and also the reviews and things like that. Like, you are always on top of all that. Do you enjoy that? Do you like that kind of thing? Like, you are like the public relations of Penn Pizza.
Yeah, I mean, well, the website is a specific company that runs that.
Oh, it is? Oh, okay.
They do all the design of it. I kind of work with them to change things up and, update coupons and other stuff. So I'll work with them, but they handle most of the website. But the Facebook and the Google business settings, Yelp business settings, all of that I'll run and I'll monitor myself. It's definitely important, nowadays especially. We deal with Grubhub and DoorDash, and as well with Menufy, which is our online delivery, online ordering service. It's just so important nowadays because people will not order sometimes and will not go to a restaurant if they don't see an online presence. Mm-hmm. And I do enjoy it, being that it's my major, I like, I don't mind doing it, and I think, to set up in a presentation of a company's website is really important. So I like to go through and set ours up whenever we need to, and whether we're offering a special or whether we're just taking a picture of a new dish we have or a video of what pizzas we have up there. That it's, I think all of that kind of goes together and shows whoever is watching what your business has to offer. So I know I still have definitely a lot I could still learn from doing that and making it better, but I noticed that while I've been in these marketing classes, the way I've handled the online marketing aspect of it has gotten better for sure.
Yeah. So my question, to still go off of that, has anyone ever commented or talked about my review?
No.
I'm gonna put that on the while we're talking right now. I'm just gonna put
right
that
below.
Yes, right below. I'm gonna put a little screenshot of it, because if they do, or if they have said they have come in here from that review, I expect commission.
Yeah. So we do get a lot of people that will say, "Oh, we saw you have a high rating on Google or on Yelp or something," and they'll say that they came in just for that. And I'm like, awesome, that's great.
It's
thank you.
Gotta be mine.
I'm like, thank you. They don't mention specifically yours, though I'm sure they saw that and that was their deal maker for them. They were like, all right, I got it. If this guy said,
he would make love to this pizza.
He would make love to this pizza.
It's gotta be good.
So I'm sure 100% people have seen that. I know I just got an analytics in my phone today from Google saying that we had about 10,000 Google Maps searches for the month of February, which I think is 10, good. It's there's probably about 10,000 people in Bloomsburg. Yeah. So
that's about Berwick's population.
Yeah, that's about Berwick. Yeah,
that's awesome.
So that's just Google Map searches for the month of February. So seeing all these different analytics kind of gives us a perspective and an idea we never had before with other restaurants. And I know my parents wouldn't know how to manage this stuff. But as I'm continuing with marketing, I'm looking at this stuff, and it's pretty cool to see all the different people that I reach out to. Though I gotta say, as a disclaimer, you can't trust every review that you read because a lot of times you'll have ex-employees that were angry about being fired. You'll have people who didn't actually go into your restaurant that are writing a bad review because their friend had an issue with the one worker there. People will write. There are so many fake reviews. I could pull it out right now and point out to you reviews that we know for a fact are fake. If I can, sometimes I respond to the fake ones just to say as if you're reading this, that's not, this person is an ex-employee, or this person, did not even come into the restaurant.
Yeah.
People will try to lower your score on there, thinking that they can affect your business, which is horrible. But then there are so many good people too that genuinely, they like the food, they like the experience, and they give you a good review. And then there are times where somebody maybe wasn't happy with their service, and that's fine that they write their review. But there are a lot of fake ones out there. There are even fake positive reviews. I know people will have like their entire family comment or write their 5-star reviews. Great pizza.
Those are good though. Those are good.
Sure, it's good. I know, like my aunt probably wrote one review. So ours is pretty genuine. Ours is pretty genuine. I think my aunt wrote one review. Besides that, nobody else in my family has written a review, which maybe I should, thinking about that, maybe I should actually have them write a few reviews.
Yeah.
But so most of our reviews are genuine, but you can't always trust the reviews. That's just something I have to put out there.
Yeah. Well, you should take note of that for movie reviews, because you
that
judge
too.
movies
Yeah.
based off reviews. But
Yeah.
that's another topic. I'll do a speed round to finish up. Will Matt ever get his fresh mozzarella sandwich?
I gotta go clean up real quick. 4 years, well worth the wait. If he comes in and orders one, yeah.
I meant like made for him specifically, like
with love. They're all made with love.
Everything. Okay, everything's made with love. Okay, another off-topic but speed round question. Favorite, and this might be a hard one, but favorite high school experience, favorite college experience.
Oh, that's hard. I'm a person that has a hard time picking favorites, and I know this isn't really speed round.
Take your time.
I have a hard time picking favorites, but favorite high school.
Or a moment that stands out.
Favorite high school experience
Has to include me. No.
I think you were there. I think so. For high school experience, probably my favorite high school experience was when we did the powder puff cheerleading.
Oh yeah.
So the girls would do a football match, and the guys I was able to.
That. You have to send me videos. I'll put it over.
I was the guy that did that organized the cheerleading team, and we actually had the cheer coach do a practice with us, so we actually did stunts in a whole halftime show. So that was awesome. I mean, my whole senior year was great. I felt like as high school progressed, it just got more fun as time went on.
I'm right there with you.
And like senior year was awesome. I know you and me, so many great times over there. And
Well, yeah, and I mean, you kind of passed the torch off to Noah and me when we did which is something the year that you did the powder puff. I was like, dude, there's no way we're doing that next year. And then the time came around, and we were like, we're actually gonna do it. It was fun, and we got roasted by some people, but it was
it's fun. Listen, people can be stupid,
but
but
senior, like that's something I would have I would have regretted had I not done it. But I have those great pictures now that they're dumb, they're stupid, but it
was fun.
I'm in your arms in one.
It's funny,
it's great, it's fun, yeah, and that's something that we'll always remember, and I appreciate that too. And I think of moments with you and me. There were a lot of full circle moments, and one was definitely the rock paper scissors championship in 12
that was
where
fun.
I kicked your ass.
It's over! Kevin Walker with the win! I coached him. I told you to go with the rock. He takes down the world heavyweight. I told you to go dominate.
No offense. But, and then also too, the one that kind of meant a lot to me was there's two of them like this. When I went to your graduation and we got that picture with Kyle, Stone, Matt, you and me, and then we did the same picture a year later with me graduating and you guys all
in the
out
same
of
spot,
caps and gowns in the same spot. Yeah, and then also homecoming too. You were the
homecoming was awesome too.
We got to take those pictures when we were on stage together and stuff like that. That to me was so cool, and I'm so happy that we met and we have this friendship with those guys and everything else. I think that's great. And so the last question I'll ask you, and this has nothing to do with anything other than the Italian American culture. If you had to choose one to live in for the rest of your life, America, Italy. Because you've been to Italy several times now, and it's beautiful, and we expect to go there at some point in time with you.
I would love to bring you guys to show you guys.
But if you had to choose,
if money wasn't a problem, Italy for sure.
Yeah.
If money wasn't a problem, Italy. I mean, there's so many beautiful parts of America that I would, that if I had, I could always vacation to America.
Yeah.
Italy, I gotta say, it's picture perfect over there. Obviously, like jobs wise, it's not the best, and there's definitely so many issues over there too
That's everywhere though. But
yeah, that's
it's a
everywhere.
beautiful
But
place.
it may, jobs wise, maybe it's not the best. But Italy, for sure, there's a different culture there too. Like I know it'll be the way things are done. Like it'll be 2 a.m. and people will be out in the streets having fun at these different if it's a Saints feast day, they'll have so many different people out, 2 a.m., different stands and people dancing, doing a dancing competition that, people out until 6 a.m. Like it's a whole different thing. And I feel like as retirement, it's awesome to live there too, because in America, I feel like there aren't as many opportunities for old people to go out and do something. But in Italy, at least where my mom's at, late at night, there's so many different opportunities for even older people to go out and have fun. It's a different atmosphere, and that's it's hard to maybe even put the words. But one day when you guys go there, you guys will see, and I'll show you guys. It's awesome.
It's
the
awesome. Pictures that you've shown and the pictures that we have, or you have around the restaurant as well, which I could definitely show. It looks like it's such a beautiful place, and so thank you so much for letting me do this here, especially after I've kept you over an hour after you've closed and cleaned up and everything else. I really, really appreciate it, and I love coming here with whether it be you or Braden or anybody else that comes. It's always a good time, and your parents always treat us and family treat us so nicely here. So yeah, where can everybody find you guys here? Where is it, like a specific address for this, or would you say that?
So we're 2403 Columbia Boulevard in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. I'm still learning the zip code, but you can search it up. We're at Penn Pizza Bloomsburg on Facebook, pennpizzabloomsburg.com, and yeah, that's where you can find us. I'm sure I'll post something nice on there for you. So.
Well, the last thing too, and I asked Ezio, and I want to do this with everybody, is like if there was one thing or like a foundation or something that people could donate to, what would that one be for you?
Yeah, so my Venmo address will be on screen, but if I would 100% say St. Jude's. I love what they're doing over there, and I know from personal experience, if there's a kid that's when there's kids that are suffering like that, that's 100%. I think one of the best places to donate to, people like children's hospitals and stuff like that. So. Definitely have to pick
I want to try, definitely. I mean, what my goal is with that is obviously have so for Ezio, I'm going to have his business and things like that at the bottom of the screen. For you, I'll have Penn Pizza and then St. Jude's as well. I'd like to try to donate a little bit to each foundation or whatever source, and also ask my guests to not donate to their own things, because Ezio, for example, has his own business and things like that. But he talked about the mental health website, which I forget what it's called, or the foundation, what that was. So it would just be a really cool thing to also bring attention at the end to the things that matter most to you or whoever I'm interviewing, things like that. So yeah, thank you so much, dude, for letting me come here and interview. This has been great.
Yeah, no,
do you
awesome.
have any final words? And if not, that's fine. But is there anything?
Today, Junior?
Cut.